Hi, welcome to Ask the Expert, a daily series from 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. to help small businesses. Ask any questions in the comments or hashtag QBATE on Twitter. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook, where accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. QuickBooks also have a dedicated COVID-19 information site. Just go to QuickBooks website, scroll down and click on the big Learn More button under the header. Support for you and your business during COVID-19. Good morning. My name's Peter Lindsay and I'm the founder of O3E. I've been in the events business for about 20 years now, and I specialised in team building events. But back in 2011, I had a bit of an epiphany when I actually felt that quite a lot of team building events seemed to actually be going at nowhere. They were actually engaging people in fun activities, but what I saw was the outcomes were quite frivolous, and there seemed to be a lot of investment and time going into something which really didn't have any kind of output. So I thought, well, let's kind of just reinvent the whole team building world and actually do something that actually has a social purpose. So O3 was founded in 2011 to actually deliver socially focused team building events that corporates could buy into, which actually would help them engage with their people, but actually deliver something to their local community. We kicked off with something called Charity Bike Build. Charity Bike Build is quite a simple idea. It's actually building bikes, and then those bikes actually could be then donated to people through charities or actually through individuals and community projects. Charity Bike Build was a great opportunity for us. We were able to supply that event several times and enabled us to pull in lots and lots of different clients. It gave us a platform to actually move our business forward. What we were able to do then was actually look at the services that we provided, and we were able to then to actually come up with some different ideas. We were able to come up with Performance Wheelchair Challenge. This was actually building wheelchairs that we were able to then give to sports centres and actually give to disability projects. We even have wheelchair dancing clubs that we've actually been able to make. We've been giving skateboards away. They're a great way for young people to actually build communities. And we've also put together care packs and also anything that a charity might like, we were able to actually develop them into a team building event that our clients absolutely adored and couldn't get enough of. In fact, it's been so successful that probably a bit like you, I've moved out of a small office at the front of the house and a garage where we stored our stuff into now a big warehouse where we actually have full-time staff, we have vehicles, and we're always developing brand new products. In 2019, we actually had the best year we ever had. We'd actually grown the business quite a lot. We did 70 events in 2019, and we brought on some brand new clients. So 2020 was looking really rosy. And in fact, 2020 started off so well that we'd actually already done in the first 2 months half the amount of events that we'd done for the total of 2019. So you can actually see just how good the business was going to be. But then obviously, as we're all aware, the COVID-19 situation hit. And if you're in live events like we are, they just weren't going to happen. And in fact, the writing was on the wall probably in about the middle of February, because we started seeing lots of postponements and cancellations that by the time the 7th of March hit, we actually didn't have any business whatsoever. And at that point, it's quite easy to actually think, well, what do you do? And probably it's the thing that a lot of business owners actually were facing exactly the same challenge. So we thought, well, okay, what is it that we do? So what's our purpose? So our purpose actually is to enable businesses to actually give to charity. And so we thought, well, what do we have that we can still deliver, but people can actually do at home? So we actually created a number of at-home team building activities. There were 3 products that we actually looked at that we currently had. One was our onboard product, and that's actually the building and decorating of skateboards. We have something which is called Getting Ahead, which is actually the decorating of children's headboards, which then go with mattresses and beds and get delivered to children who don't have anywhere to sleep. And then we also had a hybrid of our charity bike build activity. So that gave us a platform to start marketing from. And what we were able to do with that is we actually were able to say to our clients, look, here we are. We're alive and we're kicking. And we're going to make a real, and we're going to still make a difference. As the inquiries started coming in, we suddenly realised that we had a bit of a difficult situation in that the cost of delivering these events was quite high. If you can imagine, if we're actually doing a live event and we're building a skateboard, we actually have about 8 people for 2 skateboards. But what we're actually now doing was actually sending 1 skateboard to 1 person. So the cost was much, much higher. So the problem with this was not that it wasn't that clients weren't buying into the idea. It was more that we weren't really getting enough penetration. So about 80% of our marketing effort was being wasted. So what we then did is we thought, well, what else is there? What else can we do? So back in the middle of 2019, we'd actually looked at a product which was an app-based product. We did a lot of research to decide would that fit in with our current portfolio. At that time, it didn't feel right. It just didn't feel right because we were a live events business. We weren't an online events business. However, that research that we did became invaluable at this moment in time. So very quickly, we were able to purpose an application. We got a development partner involved, which then gave us this amazing platform. And then we came up with a really catchy title. It was called Escape Isolation. And then we started marketing Escape Isolation as an application. And what was so great about that application is that it was absolutely, completely versatile. And it actually enabled us to actually really meet our purpose. So we were able to go to charities and say, look what we've got. We can actually get you absolutely anything you want, which meant that we had a great story that we could actually tell our clients that they were going to make a real difference to people within society. And from that, we've really gone from strength to strength. The application is being used a lot. We've actually got an event tomorrow. It's actually meant that we did furlough some staff, but everyone starts back full time tomorrow. We've done several events for hundreds of people, and we're also now getting inquiries from global businesses. And if you'd have thought back in 2019 that we were actually going to be global following a COVID-19 crisis, then we'd be pinching ourselves to actually think where we are now. But we've actually really reinvented our organisation as an online business. We're still delivering to our purpose, so we're still actually giving charities what they want, and we are still thriving, really, absolutely thriving. So thanks for that. If you've got any questions, I'd be delighted to hear them. So I've got a question here from Pravin on Twitter. It's a direct message. It says, we think team building events are a great idea to do as a company. We were wondering, how can you measure the success of doing team building events? Well, that's a really, really good starter question. Thanks for that, Pravin. I think this is one of those things which lots of businesses really struggle with, is how do you know whether an event that you're going to do is going to be successful? Well, there's a number of things you can do, but I think the initial thing you should be doing is actually asking your people as to what do they think they should get out of a team building event when they're doing it. Because I think from that point, you actually have got a basis to actually work from. Then actually design a team building event that meets the needs of your audience and the requirements of your business. I mean, interestingly enough, we were approached by one organization that had a number of people with disabilities, and what they actually saw was that there was an issue with actually getting them involved in team building events. So because we had that bit of information, we were actually able to redesign a team challenge that we'd already had established to actually meet the needs of that audience. And then obviously following that, what you want to be able to do then is actually measure the success. And the only way you can do that is by asking the people who actually took part in that team event what they thought of it, because that will give you the information and the ammunition that you need to actually deliver the next event. So I have another question from Clinton. He's on Twitter, and it's a direct message from Clinton. He says, "We are a small company of online virtual assistants. What do you think is the best way to build trust with customers so that we can build a decent client base?" Well, that's another great question. Thank you very much for that, Clinton. Well, I think you need credibility for sure, and I think, I mean, I actually have a friend actually who also is a virtual assistant for a company. I know what she does is she actually she goes out and does quite a lot of networking. She's a member of the Chamber of Commerce, our local Chamber of Commerce, and actually goes and talks to people face to face. So I think that one of the problems with being virtual is people don't necessarily get to know you very well. So she goes out and does that. That's obviously not possible, but there's quite a lot. I know certainly our Chamber of Commerce has got a lot of online forums where you can actually meet and greet people online. They're quite fun. You get this almost like speed dating and that sort of thing, and you get that across them. Building a decent client base. Well, what is a decent client base? How many clients do you want? I think what we wanted when we first started out was just one client, I think. And I think if you do a great job for that client and you can get some testimonials from that client, you can then start to deliver more and more successful clients following the referencing that you can get from that client. So I've got a message here from Laurie. She's on Facebook Messenger. When you adapted to making the home till winning events, she says, were there any surprises or aha moments along the way? Well, I think one of the surprises was, goodness me, how expensive can a team building event be? I think one of our events, I think the Getting Ahead one, came out at something like, I think we actually did a proposal and I was expecting it to be about 22,000, and then when we done all the postage and packing, I think it was up at around £50,000. So that aha moment for us was actually you kind of need to do a little bit more homework before you start putting the marketing out, just to make sure that your product is going to fit your marketplace. And as I said, it doesn't mean to say that headboard activity didn't fit some client's brief, because it certainly did. It's just that perhaps what you should be focusing your effort on is, I think there's a cliche, which is the low-hanging fruit. And the low-hanging fruit is going to be the people who have got the smaller budgets, but actually really, really want to actually get their people working as a team and actually delivering for the business. So I've got a message here from Ravesh. He's on Facebook Messenger. Thanks for all these messages. It's brilliant. It says, hello, thank you for sharing your journey. What advice do you have for someone like myself who has an idea for a small business and wants to go for it for the first time setting up a company? Well, I think actually for small businesses at the moment, this is the best time it's ever going to be. I think there's a really backlash on some large corporates, and I think small business is going to thrive over the next few years. I think if you've got an idea, I would start marketing it. I think the thing is don't have a fully fledged product until you actually know what it is that people want to buy into. I think my experience was I had an idea, which was charity bike build. I had an Apple Mac. I created a website on that Mac. I then sent it up to the web, and then waited. And I waited. I started I made phone calls and that sort of thing. But I think if you think the idea is really great, you need to actually tell people about it and sing it from the rooftops. But once again, you don't need to necessarily have all the capital you need. You don't need to have all the bells and whistles that you need. You just need a really, really great idea. So this is from Samuel. Uh, what inspired you to create? Thanks. This is a great question. Thank you, Samuel. What inspired you to create O3E and help so many people? Do you know what? I went back in the late '90s. I worked for a man guarding company, and I was quite appalled actually at just how little these people got paid for doing what seemed to me to be quite an important job. So I spent quite a lot of time actually trying to deliver some social opportunities for those people in terms of actually getting some extra additional benefits from them. And I think it was that probably was a little the fruits of my thinking about how can you help society in a better way. And then I think it was just the progress for quite a very good organisation that I worked for that did have its heart set in society. And I think that was really the stepping stone for me there completely. This one is from Ezra. It says, and she's on Instagram, direct messenger. She says, how important do you think it is for companies to have team building events? What benefits can businesses expect to get from them? Yeah, I suppose this is why we're here, isn't it? Really, this is what I'm actually doing. That's what I'm doing the job for. The businesses need to engage with their staff. I mean, you have to do that. You can do it in lots of different ways, and you can do it through paper communication. You can do it as a conference. You can do it. You could do it through your line management as well. But I think some businesses, what actually happens is they get into what they call silos. And those silos mean that if I'm in accounts, I don't talk to anyone in sales. And if I'm in sales, I'm having an argument with someone in marketing. And that happens every day in businesses all over the world. So what a team building event does, if you like, is providing that it is actually doing all the right things, going back to one of our earlier questions, which is around, does it meet the needs of the people who are taking part? Providing it that it does that enables people to engage and network. And if you do some studies that have been done, it actually shows that people who are working closer together actually develop better businesses. The actual upside of those things is that there's the actual business improves, and I'm not saying that the profit improves because that's who knows what happens there, but actually what actually does improve is the nature of the business, the environment that people are working with. Those conversations that start on the team building in the team building event actually end up next to the coffee machine, and they end up then cementing relationships that otherwise wouldn't have existed. And that's a real benefit of team building events. This is a message from AJ. He's on Twitter, direct message. He's asked, when having a new idea for a product or service, when do you feel is the appropriate time to put it to market? Do you rely on feedback or data of any sort? I think it just goes back to kind of a bit of an entrepreneurship and a bit of a maverick way of actually working as a business. I think it's never too early to market a product or a service. I think the only genuine way you're going to actually find out is to actually find out if someone's actually biting on the idea. And I think as you ask AJ there, do you rely on feedback or data of any sort? Of course we do. I think that there's a number of ideas that we've actually put forward to the market. I can think of one which is called Make Sense, where we're actually looking at sensory storyboards for children with learning difficulties. And there was a big gap in the market in terms of teenage children not actually getting sensory stories created for them. And we thought, actually, why don't we actually create sensory stories, which then moved on to these huge picture boards. And it was only at that point when we decided that we started getting people who are interested in it. We thought, well, let's actually look at how it's going to work. And it wasn't going to work. We couldn't do it. We couldn't do it safely. It was impossible. So what we did is we adapted that product, and now we actually have more of a creative way of actually delivering that event. And the great thing is I think if you're developing an idea and you're developing a product and you have some clients or you have some friends who you can actually get some real valuable feedback from, they kind of just become that devil's advocates. They kind of question you a little bit. And then what enables you then to do is actually develop that product a lot further. And from that, what you end up then is perhaps not just one product. You might end up with 2 or even 3 products. I know that from that Make Sense activity, I think we've probably now got 3 or 4 products that have actually come from that one as well. So I hope that answers your question there, AJ. I've got another one from Wilfred. He's on Instagram, direct messenger. What are the key things to think about when creating an event to make it a success? Well, there's a number of key things, and probably I suspect what you could do, Wilfred, is if you want to have a phone call with me, perhaps call the office after this call, because I think there's a number of things. There's probably quite a lot of things that we probably couldn't cover in this conversation here, particularly about creating an event. But if you can come back to me on that, that'd be absolutely great. So I now have another message. That's from Zoe. She's on Twitter, direct messenger. Zoe says, when developing the app for your business, what things were considered and what kind of professionals did you work this to get it off the ground? Well, to actually take, I think even I know, to actually take an app from 0 to something within a month, I would say, and have it properly tested is probably almost impossible. So what we were able to do was actually find a European partner who actually granted us a license to their software and their application. And what we were able to do with that was actually put out the O3E, if you like, ethos and purpose into what they did. So the professionals that we actually used, we had our development partner there, who actually who actually created the platform for us and gave us the training to actually put what we want to do into practice. We then used graphic designers because we wanted to have, if you like, a branded background. Our escape isolation activity is a room with a door and it's got some items in it. And what we wanted to do was make it feel and look like an O3E room with a door, and it's got books and those sort of things. And then the other professionals we took on is our charity partners, the people who were actually doing the event for. It was interesting, we did an event recently where we actually worked with a charity who deal with the social issues that young people are actually going through when they're going through cancer treatment. And we already had something called a chemo care pack, which we used on a live event. But we realized that probably wasn't going to be suitable for the events that we were doing at this moment in time. So we actually got a working group together from the charity, who were able then to actually say, look, if you were going into hospital and you were having chemo, what things would you need? And what they were able to do was actually give us the items that they said would be useful, which we then took to our client, and our client then our client basically bought into that idea, and then we were able to actually then proliferate those items throughout our escape room so that people actually picked them up as they went through. So at the very end of that event, and we had 250 people on that event, we actually pulled together 138 different COVID chemo care packs. So I hope that answers your question there. So I've got another one from Paddy. Paddy's on Facebook Messenger. He says, where do you feel the future of team building event lies? Do you think we'll have more virtual events, or will we still see physical events? Guys, so do you know what, Paddy, this is kind of one of the big questions, and it's something that I think about every single day. My personal opinion is that live events will come back. I think the world as we know it probably isn't going to be the same. But I think that there still is an opportunity for live events. I've been sitting sitting with the team, looking at our bestseller, which is Charity Bike Build, trying to figure a way of how we can actually get the same level of engagement, but if everyone's standing 1 meter apart. So I think we're kind of onto something there. It needs a bit more development, but I think that perhaps in around September time, I think we might be in a position to actually bring that to the market and see if we can actually get clients to actually buy into the idea as well. I do think that virtual events, we've seen the rise of Zoom, which we're using today. We've seen the rise of Zoom is massive, and people are actually making their own team building events. I'm sure you've all been on your own quizzes in the evening. I've done a football quiz. I've done a general knowledge quiz. I know people are doing singing competitions, and there's comedy and those sort of things. So I think, if you like, the virtual event space has really come into its own over these last 3 months. So I think probably there's going to be a balance. I think businesses will actually see that a virtual event is cheaper. So I think you'll see quite a lot more of those, and probably more. And when I say more of them, I think companies will probably be doing them maybe even monthly, whereas they might do a team building event quarterly or even yearly. So I think that virtual events will actually fill space and actually probably make more opportunity for team building. But I do actually feel that the actual physical side of what we do, the live event, actually seeing people in the flesh and looking them in the eye, is still going to be a very important aspect of how we engage with each other going forward. So I've got a message here from Sandra. She's on Twitter direct messenger. It says, "Hi Peter, thanks for taking us through this so far. Were you always involved with helping charities before O3E?" I wasn't actually, Sandra. No, I think I did. I've done. I've raised money for charities. I've done probably what many of you done. You've done sponsored runs, sponsored walks, sponsored bike rides, and you've given money to charity. I remember buying everyone a goat for Christmas off of Oxfam a few years ago as well. So I've always kind of been. Actually, no, I haven't. I've not been absolutely involved in charities. I think the thing that's happened to me since 2011 is I've really got a real understanding of what society is like. I've got a working class background, but I probably describe myself now, luckily from my parents' perspective, as middle class. But actually, when you really get down and see what the work these charities are doing, it actually makes you feel that you need to make a real difference in society. And anything that you can actually do, I think, I'm probably getting quite emotional here. You can make a real difference as an individual, and you can make a real difference as an organisation. And I think it's our duty, really, as businesses and as individuals, to actually look and see who's at the bottom of that ladder, and instead of putting that ladder down, actually put more ladders down so everyone can actually enjoy what we're all enjoying. So I've got a message here from Frank. He's on Twitter direct messenger. "Have you had to adjust your marketing in recent times to make it more sensitive to what's happening?" Well, I think for what Frank, you're actually. I think Frank, you're actually. I'm not sure if you're referring necessarily to COVID-19 or you're referring to perhaps something else that's going on in the marketplace. I think our marketing is more focused really on helping directly. I think we had a plea from someone who was actually looking for 5 bikes for a family who were having some real social problems, and we marketed that. We actually marketed their message, basically saying this is the issues that we have, and these are the things, and these are the things that we can actually talk to people about. And we've had some people now who are actually coming online and say, yes, I want to help that family. What's it going to cost? What do we need to do to make that happen? So in that respect, we have changed our marketing a little bit. Okay, I think that was the last question. Thanks very much for that, Frank, and thanks very much for everyone listening to me today. I really, really appreciate it. And if you've got any questions and you want to get in touch with either me or the QuickBooks support team, you can get in touch with them on Facebook, or you can get in touch with myself, and you can email me on peter@o3e.co.uk, or you can actually check our website, which is o3e.co.uk or charitybikebuild.co.uk. But coming up on RC Expert tomorrow is Judith Dugdale, and Judith heads up the digital solutions team at MHA Moore and Smalley. Her clients range in size and complexities from new startups to established and growing businesses across a multitude of sectors. So make sure to tune in tomorrow and get free small business advice from cloud-based growth accountants. I know I'm going to. A reminder, if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Thank you very much and stay safe.